All right, welcome back everyone to another edition of our legislative interview series. Today, I am fortunate enough to have the mayor of Fuquay-Varina, Blake Massengill. Blake, thank you so much for joining us today. Appreciate it.
Hey man, glad to be here. Hope you're doing well.
Yeah, doing great. So my first question, Fuquay is growing consistently. I live here. It's a great place to live. What are you most happy with regarding the growth of the town? And on the flip side of that coin, if anything, what concerns you the most about rapid growth?
Gotcha. Well, it's an exciting time to be involved with Fuquay-Varina. I've lived here all of my life, and so I've seen a lot of change, and so it's incredible. And so right now, we have 17 new transportation infrastructure projects that are cost board solely by the town right now. And so those are huge projects that are making a difference. And so growth has allowed us the opportunity to generate revenue and be able to pass transportation bonds and implement these projects. And so where in the past everybody sits in traffic and wonders what's happening, now they'll sit in some traffic with orange cones and at least see something is coming and on the way. And so I take that on the flip side too and say, this just the challenges that growth brings you at the same time is how to balance and manage that. But I do recognize the revenue that growth generates and allows us to invest it in our community, invest it in these areas. And so our biggest challenge in the future is continue to stay focused on these types of projects because it's a desirable place and tons of people are moving to not just Wake County, but Fuquay-Varina also.
Yeah, for sure. For those of you that don't know, Blake, could you talk a little bit about your background in the housing community? And then I have a follow-up question to that. But if you wouldn't mind giving a little bit about your background and your story and what led you to becoming mayor of Fuquay, I think people would find that interesting.
Yeah, so I was first elected to town council as a commissioner 10 years ago, and I served 2 4-year terms on the board of commissioners, and over the last 6 of that, I was the mayor pro tem. And then 2 years ago, an opportunity came up to run for mayor. Our mayor had retired, and so I ran for that and won that election. So I've been involved with Fuquay-Varina politics for 10 years now. And my background is I'm a home builder, developer, and realtor by trade. And so I always campaign on the fact that we're in the growth business, and that background gives me a ton of experience and understanding the benefits that growth brings and how to navigate through that. And so, as Fuquay-Varina has continued to grow, I think, and I mentioned earlier, all those projects we've recruited, I feel like things are going in a good direction, and that background has really helped me to navigate Fuquay-Varina's future.
Yeah, that's great. And in terms of, so for us, I always talk about this, the two issues that I see being of the utmost importance, or some of the utmost importance, would be housing inventory and housing affordability. You mentioned, Fuquay being a place that's becoming one of those places where people want to move to. They want to move to Fuquay, they want to move to Apex, Holly Springs, those areas. Are those issues being talked about on the council with you? How important is it to have inventory in Fuquay and have those houses be affordable so that everybody, whether it be a family starting out to the couple that's downsizing, has a place to call Fuquay home?
Yeah, so I think that Fuquay-Varina is attractive to people of all ages and all families and all demographics are attracted to Fuquay-Varina. And so that's shown through the variety of different ages and types of ones that come to our town. I mean, we have an art center that has programming for young children all the way through adulthood up to senior citizens. And so lots of variety right there. We're building a new community center that has a large active adult component to it right there too, and that is not just youth sports and youth activities, but a dynamic population. And so that's why we recognize in Fuquay-Varina we have to have a variety of housing. And so I think the way I have been trying to recruit that is we have actively and aggressively extended our water and sewer lines. We've updated our land use plans, our land development ordinances, and these all show areas of density and different types of housing, because to have different types of people living in our community and different price points, we have to have a different type of housing. And so at the same time as we are tracking affordability with a variety of types of housing in our community, we also want everybody to be able to have somewhere to live at. And so it's not always a single family large lot that's your first time buyer. It may be a rental in the beginning, and then as they get prepared in life and buying a house, and then it may be a townhome that you're buying first, or a single family house, but a variety of things. And where a lot of suburban communities in the past have been known as the place that you go and bought your first house on a rural area that's a large lot and separate, is things have changed. Land's expensive in Wake County.
Yeah, Yeah, you mentioned that townhouses, apartments, those are super important now more than ever, I think. What's your opinion on those middle housing options, those duplexes, those triplexes, having more options for housing? Is that something that you and Fuquay look towards? But I mean, you mentioned townhouses as being part of that, but all forms of housing being available to people.
I think a variety of types of housing, a variety of density, a variety of lot sizes, a variety of product. And so when we see new development plans come to the town, where they're meeting with staff or myself or pitching ideas, that's one of the things that we're strongly encouraging is a variety of products. Don't just build one of the same thing, but have a mixture. Maybe it's some single family houses, some townhomes, and some apartments, or some large lot and small lot, but just a variety of different types of products, and that helps hit the different price points out there at the same time.
A large component within the housing crisis, workforce housing. For those of you that don't know, basically, the idea of keeping people that work in your community living in your community. Can you talk as to how that has been going within Fuquay? And I know I'll let you expand on this, but programs within neighboring towns to keep workers centrally located, at least if not in your town, but in an area close to Fuquay.
Yeah, so take for instance, we have routinely updated at budget time pay studies with our employees and pay classification, seeing how our employees compared to other neighboring towns. We have a great take-home police car program for our police officers to be able to stay at home in our community, or to go next door, but at least stay in the area. Last thing we want is somebody driving an hour away to go somewhere else on there. And as these employees stay in our community, not only do they work here, but they feel like they're a part of something, and we want that right there. And so I believe staying on top of those things right there has really helped it, and being willing to listen to developers and be creative in ways that we can keep people in our community. The density, I go back to density, hits a lot of that because land's expensive, and the only way you can get some more cost efficient product done is by putting more units on it, but in the right location at the same time.
Right. I have a couple more questions for you. One question is, how do you balance it? I think that's what's so fascinating about a place like Fuquay and all these other up and coming places around Raleigh. How do you balance the growth, but also keeping that charm of what Fuquay is to a lot of people? Do those discussions go on, and how do you balance that as you've seen it grow from what it was 10 years ago when you started in politics to what it is now?
Yeah, so Fuquay-Varina, we're fortunate. First of all, we have two downtowns, the Fuquay side and the Varina side. Where there's no other towns in Wake County have two downtowns, and so that helps keep our charm. That's what people enjoy so much. You go out into town, you have amenities, but you have restaurants and youth sports and things to go, art center, that you see a lot of entertainment. And so that's what's important to me, is balancing that. I mentioned earlier, I grew up in Fuquay-Varina all my life. When I first moved, mom and dad grew up in Raleigh and moved here when I was 2 years old. And so I remember there was less than 4,000 people at that time. And now we have more than 40,000. So we're more than 10 times larger in that time period. And so that's huge. But I think we continue growing because we update our plans, we invest back in our town, we stay focused. We want everybody to have the same feelings that we all have growing up. And that's what keeps Fuquay-Varina as a charming town and growing at the same time.
Yeah, for sure. My final question for you, Blake, before we let you go, and we appreciate you taking time out of your busy day to be with us, but what's your hope in the upcoming election cycle with candidates that are running for office? And when they get into office, what do you hope from them to work with you, to work with the community? What's your message to them? And then a follow-up with that is your vision for the future of a Fuquay, which obviously that kind of goes hand in hand.
Yeah, so the biggest thing with candidates is it's one thing to go from being a candidate and campaigning and interested in political office, and then actually serving in the position. And I think the biggest thing that my advice would be is learn to count to a majority. A majority gets things done on council government in Fuquay-Varina and all communities. And so if you have ideas by yourself, but you can't get buy-in from your other council members, it's going to go nowhere. So you learn to work with others and give and take, and find out what's important and how everybody can achieve the same cause at the end of the day. Because everybody wants the best for their town, just we all disagree on how to get there for the best for our town right there. And so, and being patient and learning a lot about government, is you realize too that you may have this idea of how to fix something, but we're limited in powers what we can and can't do by the General Assembly. And so knowing the charter of your town makes a lot of difference too at the same time.
That's great. And then finally, what's your vision for Fuquay? What is your hope for Fuquay and then Fuquay-Varina, I should say, in the next couple of years during your term? How do you see Fuquay-Varina continuing to grow?
So we have so many great projects in the works right now. We have a large retail shopping center that's in the works. I'll be breaking ground here this fall. So I run on 2-year terms, and in 2 years from now, when I'll be able to look back and see that commercial shopping center well under construction, if not complete, and we're shopping there. I'll see nearly every one of our transportation projects that are underway now being complete, and then new projects in the pipeline to start behind that. I see 540 will be open at that point. 540 is going to be a huge opportunity for Fuquay-Varina. I see Fuquay-Varina being a growing metropolis town that keeps its charm and its personality right here, that people want to continue moving here and continue enjoying it and loving Fuquay-Varina for the same reasons that I've loved it forever.
Yeah. Well, Blake, thank you so much for answering those questions, for joining us today, and for serving Fuquay-Varina. We all appreciate it, and thank you so much.
Hey, man, thank you. I enjoyed it today, Kevin, and look forward to talking again in the future.
Yeah, sounds like a plan. Thanks, Blake.
Have a good day.
You too.